Wow, it looks like a big brain. It's the brains of the operation. 2007, the year The Simpsons finally got a movie. Ah, and we needed it. 2006 had taken a lot from us. In just 1 year, we lost the crocodile hunter, the hardest working man in show business. Ah, you killed James Brown. And Pluto, the planet, not the dog. But it wasn't all bad. We also made a map of the human genome, discovered water on Mars, and got the best James Bond movie since GoldenEye. So it was a little all over the place. 2007, on the other hand, would be the year we started using words hashtag, listicle, and tweet, which tells you pretty much all you need to know about where we were at the time and where we were headed. We are going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in 2007. This is Timeline, and it's going to be a fun one because it's all about 2007. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below your favorite memory from the aughts. Now, are you ready to learn what happened to the year the United Nations designated International Heliophysical Year, for reasons you're unlikely to care about? Absolutely delighted. I feel a disaster. On January 4th, Nancy Pelosi kicked off the year in style when she became the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives in the history of the United States. It's an historic moment for the Congress. It's an historic moment for the women of America. Taking the gavel from outgoing Speaker John Boehner, Pelosi also became the first woman to be second in line to the presidency, behind only the vice president. She would serve 2 terms until 2011, and then become Speaker again in 2018. And on January 7th, NBA history was made when the now legendary Bill Jackson won his 900th game as a head coach. Jackson's Lakers beat the Mavericks 101-98, making their coach the fastest to ever reach 900 wins, a record previously held by Pat Riley. Then, on January 9th, Apple CEO Steve Jobs changed the worlds of communication and computers forever when he introduced the first iPhone at the Macworld keynote in San Francisco. What we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. The new device combined the features of a touchscreen mobile phone, an iPod, a camera, and a web browser, making it the first modern smartphone. After all the hype, thousands of customers lined up outside Apple stores across the country when the iPhone went on sale in the United States on June 29th. The first modern smartphone was not exactly cheap. It cost $499 for the 4 gig model and $100 more for the 8 gig model, and both required a 2-year contract. It would be discontinued a year later after selling over 6 million units. Tragedy struck on February 8th when model, actress, and pop culture personality Anna Nicole Smith died of an accidental drug overdose in her Hollywood, Florida hotel room. Smith, who was the 1993 Playboy Playmate of the Year, had 11 different drugs in her system at the time of her death, none of which were illegal, but not all of which had been prescribed to her. We are convinced that this case is an accidental overdose with no other criminal elements present. I'm just so sad. I'm so sad for that baby, and I'm so sad for everybody who loves her. She's a really sweet woman, and I'm sad that she's gone. And on February 19th, David Karp and Marco Arment launched the first version of the microblogging social network, Tumblr. Karp's first post talked up the site as a new philosophy for blogging. Tumblr is very much about creative expression, and sort of limitless creative expression, and the fact that your page can look any way you want. As of 2024, there are over 74 million monthly users of the Tumblr app in just the US. And Al Gore was probably very happy to thank the Academy on February 25th, when his feature, An Inconvenient Truth, won the Academy Award for Best Documentary, inspired by his fight for 30 years to tell this truth to all of us. My fellow Americans, we need to solve the climate crisis. It's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. The film, which chronicled Gore's campaign to educate the world about the dangers of global warming, currently stands as the 11th highest-grossing documentary in the history of the U.S. According to Gore, all of its profits were donated to a bipartisan campaign to fight global warming. Of course, all successful movies have to get a sequel, and Al Gore's Academy Award-winning documentary would be no exception. An Inconvenient Sequel, Truth to Power, written by Al Gore, was first screened at the Sundance Film Festival on January 19th, 2017. It wouldn't be as successful as its predecessor, but would gross over $5 million wide and receive a nomination for Best Documentary at the 71st British Academy Film Award. Then, on March 3rd, the heavens put on a show of their own when the moon moved into the Earth's shadow, creating a lunar eclipse that turned our planet's only natural satellite a deep brick red. The stunning astronomical event was visible from Europe and Africa, as well as parts of North America, South America, Asia, and Australia. 3 days later, I. Louis Scooter Libby was found guilty of obstruction of justice and 5 counts of perjury. Libby was an aide to President George W. Bush, accused of interfering with an investigation of White House officials who had leaked the identity of CIA agent Valerie Plame Wilson. He was sentenced to 30 months in prison, but that penalty was commuted by Bush 2 months later, and Libby was pardoned by President Trump in 2018. Then on March 29th, Rihanna dropped Umbrella, featuring Jay-Z. The song, which was the first single and opening track from her 3rd studio album, Good Girl Gone Bad, would hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on June 9th, where it would stay for 7 consecutive weeks. Hello, I'm a Mac, and I'm a PC, and I'm a Mac genius. A what? OCPC. Every Apple store has a thing called a Genius Bar. It's a place where people like her will answer any questions you have about your Mac. Oh, a genius. All right. What's p to the 5th decimal? 34159. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I love Mac? 11. She's good. Very good. Meanwhile, down under, 2.2 million people in Sydney, Australia turned off their lights for a whole hour on March 31st as part of the first ever Earth Hour. Organized by the World Wildlife Fund, the purpose of Earth Hour was to show climate skeptics that the general public was concerned about climate change. It has been repeated every year since. I have finished my course. I have ceased to enjoy and suffer. Please transfer your love and your benevolence to your living fellow men. And so it went on April 11th, when acclaimed American novelist Kurt Vonnegut died at age 84 from head trauma sustained during a fall at his Manhattan home. Best known for his novels Slaughterhouse-Five, Cat's Cradle, and Breakfast of Champions, his career spanned over a half a century, and his work is still highly revered today. One of the deadliest mass shootings in American history started at 7:15 a.m. on April 16th, when 23-year-old Virginia Tech student Sung Hoi Cho shot a resident assistant in a campus dormitory. He then headed to a classroom building where, after chaining and locking several of the main exits, he went door to door shooting people with 2 handguns. He would kill 32 and wound another dozen before taking his own life just 10 minutes after a shooting spree began. Mr. Webley, I trust you have a license for that firearm. I don't for this one. He does for this one. He does for this one. What do you mean by this one? By the power of Christ. Boris Yeltsin, the first president of Russia, died of cardiac arrest on April 23rd. As the man who oversaw the dismantling of the Soviet Union, his funeral was held at the Christ, the Savior Cathedral, which was destroyed by Stalin and rebuilt by Yeltsin. Held on April 25th. It was the first funeral for a head of state to be sanctioned by the Russian Orthodox Church since the funeral of Tsar Alexander III in 1894. And while we're talking politics, British Prime Minister Tony Blair announced his intention to resign as leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister of the UK on May 10. I've been Prime Minister of this country for just over 10 years. I think that's long enough. For me, but more especially for the country. Blair's announcement, which came after 10 years on the job, triggered the 27 Labour Party leadership election. He would officially resign on June 27th and be succeeded as Prime Minister by his Chancellor, Gordon Brown. And then, on May 16th, Nicolas Sarkozy took office as the 6th President of the French Fifth Republic and the 23rd President of France overall, a conservative politician from the Union for a Popular Movement party. Sarkozy's time in office would be greatly shaped by the global financial and economic crisis of 2007. He would ultimately stay in the job until 2012. I need to know what I stand to win. Everything. Eds then. Well done. Don't put it in your pocket, sir. Don't put it in your pocket. It's your lucky quarter. Where do you want me to put it? Anywhere, not in your pocket. Or it'll get mixed in with the others and become ingestible. On June 1st, retired pathologist Jack Kevorkian was released from prison. Known in the media as Dr. Death for his determination to assist terminally ill patients who want to commit suicide, Kevorkian had served 8 years of his 10 to 25-year sentence after being convicted for the 1998 murder of Thomas Young. I will not do it again because it would be counterproductive. What would it serve? What purpose? An era in television ended on June 10th, when 12 million people around the world tuned in to see the series finale of HBO's critically acclaimed mafia drama The Sopranos. Created by David Chase, the show premiered in January of 1999 and controversially ended with an abrupt cut to black that caused many viewers to think their cable had gone out. Nonetheless, it is still widely considered one of the greatest shows ever on TV. 14 years after it signed off on HBO, David Chase returned to the Sopranos universe in the theatrical prequel film, The Many Saints of Newark. The film depicted a young Tony Soprano, played by James Gandolfini's son Michael, learning the ropes of organized crime from his idol and uncle, Dickie Moltisanti. Welcome to the main attraction, Sonic and the Secret Rays, rated everyone. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short. Autobots. What's crackin', little bitches? My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz. This looks like a cool place to kick it. And after 35 years, Bob Barker hosted his last episode of The Price is Right on June 15th. I want to thank you very, very much for inviting me into your home for the last 50 years. The 83-year-old Monsieur taped his first installment way back in 1972. And by the time he called it quits, he had done 6,586 of them. He would be replaced by comedian Drew Carey, who took over the following October. And please remember, help control the pet population. Have your pets fed and neutered. Goodbye, everyone. A cheeky marketing campaign went terribly wrong on the morning of June 29th, when the Boston Police Department and Fire Department were called in to check on multiple mysterious blinking placards hung around the city. What were presumed to be explosives turned out to be a publicity stunt for the upcoming Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. The placards, which had LED lights designed to look like one of the Moonlight characters from the show, caused a citywide scare, resulting in delays in traffic and subway service. In a post-9/11 world, who puts cartoon characters attached to batteries on bridges around Boston? Some sort of moron. I didn't feel scared at all. I wasn't intimidated. I knew it was a Moonanite. It looks like a cartoon character. In the end, Cartoon Network's parent company, Turner Broadcasting System, paid $2 in compensation, and the artists responsible for the stunt, Sean Stevens and Peter Brodowski, agreed to perform community service and give a public apology. Any other hair questions are definitely welcome. Hair today, gone tomorrow. At 6 a.m. on the 1st of July, new regulations in England brought a smoking ban into effect nationwide. Make a place for the smokers and a place for the non-smokers that's segregated off. Not herders out here, like bloody prostitutes standing on this corner. With a ban already in effect in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, the passage of the English law made it illegal to smoke in indoor public places anywhere in the UK. Everybody else's tobacco is poisonous. Lucky Stripes is toast. Advertising is based on one thing: happiness. The seventh and final book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, was released worldwide on July 21st. As the last installment in the massively successful series by J.K. Rowling, the book received an initial run of 12 million copies in the US alone. Just 3 years later, The Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 premiered in Leicester Square in London. At 607 pages, the story in the book was far too much to fit into a single film, though it was split into 2 parts that were shot back-to-back by director David Yates. Part 2, the final film in the series, would drop July 7, 2011. When all was said and done, Harry Potter films would gross over $5 billion. I don't know why I avoided the Harry Potter books for so long. These are great. This started number 6. That's a good one. Dumbledore dies in that one. Yeah, I know. I didn't see it coming either. My name is Rod, and I like to party. Hi, my name is Dave, and I like to party. No, Dave, I just said that I party. So maybe do something different for me. My name is Dave, and I am the stuntman. You know what? Let's move on. And on August 4th, in a game at Yankee Stadium, Alex Rodriguez of the Bronx Bombers homered off Kyle Davies of the Kansas City Royals, and history was made. Number 500 for Alex Rodriguez. The dinger made the 32-year and 8-day-old Rodriguez the youngest player in MLB history to hit 500 home runs, a record that still stands today. And another baseball record fell just 3 days later on August 7th when San Francisco Giant Barry Bonds hit his 756th career home run to break Hank Aaron's long-standing MLB record on a full count with 1 out in the 5th inning. Possibly due to Bonds' controversial role in baseball steroid scandals, neither the commissioner of baseball nor Aaron himself were in attendance. Disaster struck on August 15th, when an 8-magnitude earthquake struck off the Pacific coast of Peru. The quake, which lasted a full 2 minutes, would kill almost 600 people, while injuring nearly 2,300 others. Most seriously affected were the cities of Pisco, Ica, and Chincha Alta in the Ica region, and San Vicente de Cañete in the Lima region. The intense earthquake was felt as far away as Hawaii. So it's just McCloven. Yeah, that's badass. It is badass. Really cool. Badass, yeah. A lot of people with weird names nowadays. Shinji, Shakira, Rafe, Pax. We arrested a man-lady who was legally named I think he was Vietnamese. Was with a Fiat, but still pretty shocking to see on a license. Yeah. Moon, this chicken flamethrower sandwich is amazing. Yeah. Why do we have to inhale when we talk? Trust me. If you exhale, flames will shoot out of your mouth. What? He said flames. Ah, help me, help me. Just close your mouth. BBQ flamethrower chicken sandwich and the original flamethrower burger, because one good burn deserves another. Russia sent the world a scary message on September 11, when it field-tested the amusingly named father of all bombs, allegedly yielding the equivalent of 44 tons of TNT. It was, at the time, claimed to be the most powerful non-nuclear weapon ever, surpassing even the GBU-43B massive ordnance air blast, otherwise known as the mother of all bombs. The intro kind of has a very toddling sound, but it's definitely the hook. That point in time, we were two nerdy liberal arts college students. The band was a joke about being rock stars. It was kind of performance art in a way, but not very, like high concept. I would say no concept. No concept. On October 5th, after years of adamant denials, three-time gold medal winning American sprinter Marion Jones admitted she used performance-enhancing steroids while preparing to compete at the Olympic Games in Sydney in 2000. Making these false statements was an incredibly stupid thing for me to do. I have no one to blame but myself for what I've done. In addition to being stripped of all her Olympic medals, Jones would plead guilty to related charges in a U.S. district court and serve 6 months in a federal prison, as if winning an Oscar wasn't enough already. On October 12th, Al Gore, in conjunction with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to build up and disseminate greater knowledge about man-made climate change, and to lay the foundations for the measures that are needed to counteract such change. We have the ability to solve this crisis and avoid the worst, though not all, of its consequences if we act boldly, decisively, and quickly. I am starving. Don't you have a photo shoot tomorrow? Stop eating. I think she has a little junk in the trunk. Blake got the jiggles. What are you talking about? She said. You have a lot of junk in your trunk. I meant outside in your car. There's some stuff in your car we need to get out. Marion Jones and Barry Bonds weren't the only star athletes to have drug-related scandals in 27, because on November 1st, 5-time Grand Slam winner Martina Hingis admitted to testing positive for cocaine during Wimbledon. And for this kind of tennis, there is only one remedy: the joy of playing. Despite proclaiming her innocence, Hingis immediately retired from the sport rather than have a fight with anti-doping authorities. She would be suspended for 2 years and would start competing again in 2013, retiring for good 4 years later, while ranked at number 1 in the world. Prior to a key Supreme Court ruling on the legitimacy of his election, President Pervez Musharraf imposed a state of emergency rule in Pakistan on November 3, which saddens me the most. After all we have achieved in the past 7 years, I see in front of my eyes Pakistan's upsurge taking a downward trend. Responding to what he described as a surge in Islamic militancy and judicial activism, Musharraf's order entailed suspending the Constitution and firing the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The order would remain in effect until December 15, and wouldn't you know it, in 2013, the government of Pakistan charged Musharraf with high treason for implementing emergency rule and suspending the Constitution back in 2007. The special court, which held hearings while Musharraf was in exile in Dubai, found him guilty and sentenced him to death in absentia. The ex-president, however, would die of natural causes in the United Arab Emirates in February of 2023. Launched on October 24 from Xikang Satellite Launch Center, China's first lunar satellite, Chang'e 1, entered lunar orbit on November 5, It would relay its first picture of the moon's surface just 21 days later. Its mission finally ended on March 1st, 2009, when it crashed on the moon. And the world lost a true showman on November 30, when legendary motorcycle daredevil Evel Knievel died of pulmonary disease at the age of 69. Famous for stunts like trying to jump Snake River Canyon on a rocket-powered motorcycle, Knievel had been suffering from diabetes and pulmonary fibrosis for years. Then, on November 30th, 5 people at a New Hampshire campaign office for presidential candidate Hillary Clinton were taken hostage by a local man who appeared to have a bomb strapped to his chest. The standoff lasted 5 hours before being resolved peacefully by police. The bomb was fake, and none of the 5 hostages, which included an infant, were hurt. Very grateful that this difficult day has ended so well. On December 8, Florida Gators quarterback Tim Tebow became the first sophomore in the history of the NCAA to win the coveted Heisman Trophy. Tebow's incredible season, which resulted in over 3,200 passing yards, almost 900 rushing yards, 32 touchdown passes, and 23 rushing ties, was one of the most impressive in the sports history. And the sports world was rocked again on December 13th, when Major League Baseball released the results of an investigation into steroid use in the sport conducted by Democratic Senator George Mitchell of Maine. The evidence we uncovered indicates that this has not been an isolated problem. At over 400 pages, the bombshell report listed the names of 89 players believed to have used anabolic steroids and human growth hormones, including home run champ Barry Bonds. And crime certainly paid on December 20, when the painting portrait of Suzanne Bloch, 1904, by the Spanish artist Pablo Picasso, was stolen from the Sao Paulo Museum of Art. Thieves used a hydraulic jack to let themselves in, and were out with their stolen goods within 3 minutes. No alarms were raised, since the cash-strapped museum didn't even have one. The painting, worth over $50, was recovered in January of 2008. Finally, on December 27, former Pakistan Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was assassinated by a suicide bomber in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. Bhutto was at the time the leader of the opposition party, Pakistan People's Party, and was campaigning for an election in January of 2008. 23 others were killed in the explosion, which was tentatively linked to the terrorist group Al-Qaeda. And that's how 2007 ended, with Al Gore polishing his Oscar and Nobel Peace Prize, and everyone else using their new iPhones to figure out which roided-up ball player was the biggest disappointment. It was so distracting. A lot of people didn't even notice that on February 10, the junior United States Senator from Illinois had announced he was running for president. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2008. So what do you think? And what was your fondest memory of 2007? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other timeline videos.